Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to another Meathead Minute. It's time to talk about, you guessed it, everybody's favorite topic right now, coronavirus. And I'm going to start this off with an admission. I was wrong. I was one of the many folks that initially early on was very skeptical about this being any kind of big deal. We were blowing it out of proportion, the flu's worse, blah, 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 blah. Well, after working on the ground regarding this for the past few weeks, spending a lot of time talking to people way above my pay grade and public health department and epidemiologists, I'm man enough to admit when I was wrong. And I've kind of changed my tune on the severity of this. Now, I will preface the rest of this with saying just because this is a big deal doesn't mean it's the end of the world. So, unfortunately, there's not a lot of nuance in this discussion out there, and one side is saying that we need to completely ignore it, it's just a cold, blah, 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 and the other side is saying this is the apocalypse and we need to stock up on toilet paper. By the way, stop buying toilet paper. I don't know why you're all doing this. This is ridiculous. One, it's not a diarrheal illness, so I don't know why you need that much toilet paper. Two, people that are actually getting quarantined now can't get toilet paper enough to last them 2 weeks. So those of you that are buying 2 years worth of toilet paper, that's your fault. So calm down. Hand sanitizer, soap, yeah, probably a good idea to have those things, especially because regular hand soap can get rid of coronavirus off of your hands because it has a lipid outer layer. So it's okay to use regular hand soap for this. So, everybody can take a step back, take a breath, and listen to people who actually have the information rather than the sensationalization. The World Health Organization, the CDC, your local public health departments, these are the people with the real actionable information on what to do regarding coronavirus. Not Facebook, not Instagram, not even me. Go on those websites and do that instead of watching the news if you want to figure out what to do. So, more than anything else, do not panic. Let's talk a little about what coronavirus is. So, coronavirus is a respiratory virus similar to the flu. But here's how it's different from the flu. One, this is a new strain that we've never seen before. So we don't have the detection capabilities in the same way that we do for the flu. We don't have a rapid test. Two, the mortality rate, according to the CDC, is roughly about 10 times that of the flu. Now, I know everybody's saying, well, there's been this many flu deaths this year and this many coronavirus deaths. That's absolutely true. There's been more flu deaths. However, if you look at the number of total cases of coronavirus, the mortality rate's a lot higher. I don't think that it is as high as the 3.5% that we're reporting from around the world. I think there's some undiagnosed cases that are going to lower that rate, but it's still, according to the CDC, about 1%. And that's about 10 times what the flu's mortality rate is every year. So, this is a big deal. This is a big deal, and it's not a big deal for most of us. Most of us are going to be asymptomatic. Most of us are going to get, 80% of us are going to get a mild illness. So, yeah, it's not scary for the large majority of people. What makes it concerning is that other 20% of folks and how that's going to burden the healthcare system. Before I get into that, I want to mention the one other difference from the flu is that you can have 2 weeks of coronavirus without any symptoms before you start presenting. So you can transmit that whole time, which is much different from what the flu does, which does make it a little bit scarier there too. So here's why being part of the 80% that is going to get mild symptoms still means you need to be careful. Still means that closing all these sporting events, etc., is a good idea. Because we talk about flattening the curve. That's been the big buzzword today. And flattening the curve means we are preventing the healthcare system from being overburdened. So if we're looking at a graph where the y-axis is the amount of cases of coronavirus, the x-axis is time, and we have another line here in the middle that is the capacity of the healthcare system. If we have a rapid increase in cases, we immediately go past that threshold of healthcare capacity. And what does that mean? That means the moderate cases, who would just require a regular hospital admission, now can't get into the hospital. So they don't get better right away. Then they become a severe case and they require an ICU admission. Well, guess what? There's not any ICU beds either. So we start to run out of beds in hospitals really quick, which means that really low mortality rate starts to skyrocket. So by preventing a rapid spread, not a complete spread, because we can't stop that, preventing a rapid spread, it keeps that curve below the line. We are not going to stop this thing, but we do need to mitigate it. And we need to mitigate it not for ourselves, the healthy people, just like most of the people who follow this, for the people we care about, for the most vulnerable people in our lives, our grandparents, you know, those of us who have friends and family who are immunocompromised from a chronic disease or from a medication. You know, the old person down the street, you see walking their dog, you see them in the grocery store. You know, I have a lot of retirees that come on our base. You know, these are the people that are vulnerable, and it's our responsibility as healthy people to protect them. So before you go off, you know, ranting about how we're all freaking out and blowing this out of proportion because you're not going to get that sick, that's absolutely true. You're not going to get that sick, but somebody else might. Sure, there's only been 4,000 or 5,000 deaths so far. That's still 4,000 or 5,000 lives. That's 4,000 or 5,000 families that have been affected by this, just from a death standpoint, not to mention an infection standpoint. So, you know, it's really important that we take this seriously. But again, panic is not helpful. There's no reason to panic about this because we can control it, and we are. You know, we are taking the measures necessary to control it. So do not panic. It is going to be okay. It is not the apocalypse. And panic is only going to make this worse. We're going to run out of supplies faster. We're going to not do the things we need to do when our local officials are telling us to do them when we're panicking. It makes you irrational. So everyone stay calm. We will get through this as a world. We will get through this as a country. But we need to be careful. We need to, you know, practice social distancing. So at least 6 feet between people if you can. Avoid large crowds. So large events, concerts, sporting events, that's why those are getting canceled, because there could be so much rapid transmission. You know, obviously don't travel internationally at the moment. It's very difficult to do that at the moment, but try not to do that. Wash your damn hands, cover your cough, manage your stress, get good sleep, and try not to touch your face. Those are really the things that you can do. So we want to slow the spread of this. We want to take care of each individual person, but we also don't want to panic. It is going to be okay. So that's all I've got for tonight. Please put any questions you have in the comments. You know, this is something that a lot of people are concerned about, and I'm happy to answer those things since I am working on the ground dealing with this pandemic. So I hope that was helpful for you. I hope it wasn't too long-winded, but yeah, guys, I'll catch you next time. Stay safe out there.